Brooklands, the birthplace of British motorsport, with Bentleys and Bugattis thrashing it out on this banked circuit, then off to the club later for the hand of a fair maiden and brandy and cigars. Then, during the war, part of the track was demolished to make way for aircraft manufacture, including the iconic Wellington bomber. Yes, this corner of Surrey is steeped in history of motorsport and of tales of daring doers and boys' own heroes with big moustaches and fast oil-drenched machinery. The perfect place then to test the latest electric SUV from Germany then. Whilst this isn't Mercedes' first electric car, it is the first dedicated battery electric vehicle in series production. Now, it might look a little bit like its GLC, but it only shares 15% of its componentry with that car. Over the next few years, we're going to see Mercedes launch an awful lot of electric vehicles as part of its EQ brand. But they have started with this, probably the most popular sector of all, this mid-sized SUV. Competition-wise, you're looking at things like the Tesla Model X, Jaguar I-Pace and Audi e-tron. I keep changing my mind about the EQC's looks. I like it from some angles, from others I can't quite get on with it, but there's certainly no doubting that it is a Mercedes Benz. It is also quite trim sensitive, trim specification sensitive. This sport model gets these nice chrome strips across, but its AMG line models are slightly different. We'll come on to that later in the programme. However way you look at it, there is no doubting it as a Mercedes-Benz, however, and in a world of SUVs, let's chalk that up as a good thing. Although for my money, I do think the Jaguar I-Pace has the design desirability all wrapped up. Back in the late 1990s, I actually sold Mercedes-Benz for a short period of time, and it was about at that point where they went away from being the ridiculously over-engineered cars of the 1980s to using slightly cheaper plastics and a different quality of steel. You could tell the accountants had really come into Mercedes-Benz at that point. So, do we have a return to original form in here? Well, yes and again, no. The interior itself is an absolute delight with this lovely big twin screen dashboard that we're now seeing on some of the Mercedes-Benz models. You've also got this nice, lovely leather steering wheel with some nice little touch pads here and some scroll wheels. And I absolutely love this fluted design that goes up around the top of the dashboard. However, there are a little bit of cheaper plastics still being used around about here, and I have a funny feeling this area here could become quite heavily scratched with using this keypad down here. These nice little rose gold tints on the vents, however, are quite nice, and there's a lot of tactility in the car as well, with this sort of neoprene material on the dashboard rather than leather. One of the new features on the Mercedes-Benz EQC 400 is the new Mercedes-Benz MBUX system. Now, this is a voice-activated recognition system, so if you're used to things like Alexa or Siri on your smartphone, then it's very, very similar in operation. And you can do all sorts with it. It's basically voice recognition for a lot of the facilities in the car, such as the navigation, the infotainment system, and such like and so forth. I have to say, we've been using it and it is really good. It's certainly one of the better systems, and it is miles different to the old Mercedes-Benz Linguatronic, if you're old enough to remember that. There is also a number of apps that can come with it. So again, being used to a smartphone or tablet, you can connect that through here. We can browse for hotels, coffee shops, or restaurants. All of this is very neatly integrated into the system and can be all controlled from this touchpad down here or through the voice activation through the system. You get these nice little touch sensitive pads on the steering wheel as well that allows you to scroll through the menus, as well as on a pad down here. The navigation system itself takes into account range of the car and will also give you charging points according to your destination. It's quite an efficient way of doing it, and it will also work out the easiest route for you, taking into account remaining range and obviously your final destination where you're going. The cabin, as I say, is full of nice touches. But one thing I will say is, as we've said before, specification-wise, this will depend on your trim level. So the Sport, for instance, doesn't actually get natural leather. It gets this man-made leather on the seats, which I think is a little bit disappointing and reminds me of the old MBUX that Mercedes Benz used to do, as I say, back in the 1980s and early 1990s. Interior is a lovely place to be. You've got lots of nice areas for storage. You've got a nice couple of bits of cup holders in here, a bit to put your phone in. There's a USB port there. You press this button, you've got some more storage in here too. Disappointingly, however, on the lead-in model, the Sport, you don't get Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. You've actually got to move up to one of the trim levels to get that. That's a little bit stingy in my view. Come on, Mercedes, if it's standard on a £25,000 MG ZS, you could have put it on a 65 grand EQC. And rear space is pretty good as well. You can certainly get 3 people across, although again, for some odd reason, there's a transmission tunnel in this car. Not quite sure why, rather than having a flat floor. But anyway, it's nice back here. There's plenty of, the driving seat's set for myself, plenty of knee room, and there's plenty of head height here. And this car actually does have a sunroof fitted. So yeah, and it's a nice place to be too. You've got some little USB ports tucked away down in here, a nice centre armrest with some storage, little cup holders that come out. As family SUVs go, this is good enough. The EQC comes with an 80 kilowatt hour battery, which should in theory give a range of about 260 miles according to WLTP figures. Charging is from a port here, and the car will charge at a rate of up to 110 kilowatts. From 0 to around 80% from a fast charger, you're going to be looking at around about 40 minutes. The EQC can also tow up to 1800 kilos, so for those of you thinking that you can't tow with an electric car, you can. Although it has to also be said that you can with the Model X from Tesla too. The EQC produces 408 horsepower, but more importantly 760 Newton meters of torque. Now it is a heavy car, it's 2.5 tons. Now you might think weight is the enemy of performance, of course it is. But actually in an electric car, that mass helps with regenerative braking, because obviously it's a lot of car to slow down. So of course the regenerative braking, putting more charge into the battery. 0 to 60 is dispatched in 5.1 seconds, so it is quite sprightly off the line for such a big heavy car. And again, it's not going to be something you throw around like an E55 AMG, but it is probably one of the more sporty SUV styles. It has a motor on each axle, and primarily it is the front wheels that's driven, oddly for a Mercedes, but the rear does come into play when grip is lost or under hard acceleration. Now, as I say, it is primarily a road car. It isn't going to be a massive big off-roader like something like Mercedes' G-Wagon. But it is a sporty SUV, as we've said before. But what's really impressive is the comfort and refinement. It is going back to old Mercedes Benz of that, and that is what impresses with the car. The quietness, the comfort of the suspension, and okay, you can have firmer suspension with some of the AMG lines where they've got bigger wheels and tyres, but actually it does ride well for this type of car. The other thing you can adjust is the brake regeneration, and this is actually quite clever on this Mercedes. So using the paddles that are behind the steering wheel, we can either reduce the aggressiveness or increase it. But cleverly, it also uses the front camera on the car to judge the distance to the car in front. So for instance, if there's no car in front, you can come off the throttle and the car won't brake, it will coast, allowing energy to be recuperated back. If there's a car in front, then obviously the car will brake. There are 4 trims available on the EQC 400. There is the Sport, there is the AMG line, there is the AMG line Premium, and then there's the AMG line Premium Plus. So there is quite a lot to think about when you're choosing your new Mercedes Benz EQC 400. Prices start from £65,000 for the lead-in Sport model, rising to just over £75,000 for the top line. You get a 3-year unlimited mileage warranty with the car. Again, probably a little bit stingy in today's market, but the batteries are covered by 8 years up to 100,000 miles. So what else might you be considering instead of a Mercedes Benz EQC? Well, of course, its direct rival is the Audi e-tron. You've also got the Jaguar I-Pace, and BMW will soon enter the fray with a new SUV from their I range. If you're still not completely convinced by full electric, then obviously there's a Porsche Cayenne hybrid, or if you're going down the petrol and diesel route, then of course there's the Range Rover Velar. And of course, we can't not mention the Tesla Model X, although that is a little bit more expensive. But the other side of that is, it is a full 7-seat SUV. Certainly with the Tesla, you do get the access to Tesla's supercharging network, although build quality wise, we have to say the Mercedes, the Audi and the Jaguar do surpass Tesla in terms of fit and finish inside. Practicality wise, yes, you do get a big boot in the car. It's certainly much bigger than things like the Jaguar I-Pace, and you can also fold the rear seats down by just pressing the little button there. You've also got nice underfloor storage in here for all your charging cables too. So here's what we do and don't like about the Mercedes Benz EQC 400 4Matic. We like the styling, the quality, we love the drive, and the interior design. We don't like the high price and the poor value for money in lower spec variant, and some of the interior materials do still let the side down. So, has Mercedes-Benz given us an electric car worthy of the three-pointed star? Yes, without doubt. What's really impressive about the EQC is its comfort and refinement. It shows a real return to form for Mercedes-Benz in that part, for me anyway. BMW always did sporty, Audi always did design, and Mercedes always did design integrity and engineering. And this is exactly what we've got with the EQC 400. Now, next week we drive the Audi e-tron, which is probably its closest rival. So I'm going to hold judgment on what's the better car until then. But for the moment, this is an exceptionally good car, albeit an expensive one, but Mercedes-Benz have never really been cheap. The downsides, of course, is you've got to climb up the price range to get a really nicely spec'd one. But other than that, the drive quality is what sets this car apart, and it's a real winner in our book. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. So, you've watched our video. It's now my job to tell you to like and subscribe, and press the little bell button to receive notification of when our next video is uploaded. Sorry, what's that? You want more than just videos? Okay, did you know that AutoEV is also a website? That's right, autoev.co.uk. Not only is it all the latest news, reviews and musings, including motorsport from the electric vehicle world, but we've got literally hundreds of used electric vehicles for sale from dealers up and down the country.